We'd just like to begin by saying that we're performing today on the stolen lands of the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people of the Kulin Nation. We acknowledge their deep connection and protection of this land and that sovereignty was never ceded. We also recognize the rich storytelling traditions embedded in this land and storytelling's role in resisting the ongoing colonial project of so-called Australia. We pay our respects to elders both past and present and extend that to any First Nations people here today. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. The end of life has its own nature, also worth our attention. Mary Oliver, Our World. Kim, there's people that are dying. Kourtney Kardashian, episode 12, season 6 of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Like Kourtney said, there are people that are dying. I wanted to write to the dead instead of about the dead. I wanted to write to you, the you being my dad being the dead. I'm trying not to write for an audience. I'm choking on grease-congealed oatmeal texture. Words splinter mid-air. Maybe the distance is too yawning. An elastic waistband stretched to its limit. I've realized that the problem with trying to speak a vocabulary of loss is that by nature it falls apart and away. Lately I've been burning my words for you. Morning data, epistolary smoke, individual drops of rain vapor. I really hope that a word or two makes it through to wherever you are. Your hunger makes it possible for you to see things. Ariana Rines, Coeur de Lion. Taste everything thoughtfully. Salmon Nosrat, salt, fat, acid, heat, mastering the elements of good cooking. My preferences are just sort of eat like a wild animal. Robert Pattinson, A Dispatch from Isolation, GQ. In the throbbing hangover of optimization, I lean over the side of the earth and upchuck a smart device. I've euthanized all my emails or they've gone to good homes. What's the feeling? I think there's a paywall for that. Somewhere there is a Digerati billionaire stocking up his underground apocalypse bunker with tinned food, infinite ply tissues, home workout machines, and incredibly specific porn. Somewhere there is a field of cows wearing VR headsets, enjoying a unique summer field simulation program while they sway under bloated skies and moo in unison for something that isn't real. Somewhere there is a womb filled with shark embryos devouring each other in an intrauterine cannibalistic frenzy. On Love Island US Season 2, a bombshell is flirting with a man with dead eyes and a six-pack. In an effort to build connection, and in the shiny pursuit of prepackaged romance, she twirls her shiny hair around one finger and says, I was born with my umbilical cord wrapped around my neck. A bank that invests in fossil fuels asks me on Instagram, what keeps you going through these times? Is it passion or grit? When I was 10, I dissected a pig heart at school and I touched its different parts and learned their names. Ventricle, atrium, chamber, valves. And I remember how pink it was, how wet. And then the heart was boiled, and then the heart was sliced up, and then I ate the heart part, names and all. Another way to say person is sentient hunger. Pet names for my body include my little flesh pochette, my little fine cut of meat, my little muscle machine. Do you know that most people think a lobster screaming when it's boiled is a scream, but it's actually the sound of steam hissing out of its shell? Do you know what the opposite of that is? When something doesn't sound like a scream but is. What is the point of screaming without receiving the appropriate level of attention? I've seen people laugh and talk and gossip and greet and chat with the pulsing energy of a contained scream. This year has a face, and it's always watching me through its fingers. I spent this year observing the world through screens of various sizes and equal badnesses. I'm reading about endlings, Martha the last passenger pigeon, Benjamin the last thylacine, Tertiary the last Polynesian tree snail. Due to Tertiary's slowness, it took curators a while to realize that Tertiary had stopped moving forever. I'm disturbed by the English language's approach towards animacy, how it puts living things on an arbitrary gradient, and how comfortable we feel assessing the aliveness of a thing. By the way, reminders that we share the world's surfaces are fading every day. It's another day in cyberspace, and the algorithms are working overtime, and I'm watching a video of a 67-year-old Chinese weightlifter who has discovered the sport in her twilight years. She says, "Life is about two things, spending money and enduring hardship." YouTube compilations of Brad Pitt acting has got me feeling a certain type of way. I wake up every silly little day and perform my silly little tasks in a silly little world where time and pressure have put gems into the earth, and children put gems in iPhones, and adults put iPhones in blenders just to see how they break. I think that reciprocity is knowing that things don't just exist to be consumed. I think about how, because of cities, rivers used to flow with shit and rotting meat, and I think about how in London, the eels that live in the River Thames are permanently coked up because of banker wankers flushing their capo coping mechanisms. And I think about how water doesn't forget. I'm watching another video. It's true that the algorithm has its claws in me really deep, and it's so sick. And this video is titled Lesson from a Crab, and it's of a crab being cooked alive on a hot pan and devouring its surrounding ingredients, just pushing sliced leeks and chili flakes into its mouth hole. Chinese TV posted this video to suggest that people learn to enjoy food until their very last breath. Visitation dream. These days feel like draining a wound into a champagne flute. A Salt Lake City Real Housewife says I deserve presents just for breathing. I never imagined the apocalypse as something this slow and boring and so full of takeout. In the wake of a perfume commercial rife with symbols and sillage, I am left plaiting my hair into tiny nooses for each passing tiny moment of my life. Connection to meaning has never been so hard. Ritual is now the name of a food ordering app. Dreams are emails from your subconscious, sent to remind you of the most impending deadline of all. Angel is just a prefix to investor. Money is the new apex of spirituality, and we are all its sanctified little bitches. Just look at photographs of Wall Street stockbrokers during the global financial crisis. Hands to their faces in what can be viewed as reverence. A Daily Mail article describes a Gwyneth Paltrow vagina-scented candle exploding as infernal flame. Someone somewhere has to be praying for all of humanity to be safe from goop. I'm watching a viral sensation on TikTok talk about things she doesn't understand. who looked at something and said, "That's the sky." Heaven used to mean everything above us that we could see, but now it's just a place you might not go if you die. And the closest thing that we have to forever is plastic. I've always wondered about the leftover energy, the way water goes rushing down a hill long after the rains have stopped. Adrian Rich, For the Dead. Signs from the dead were clogging up the world's arteries. All sorts of weird theatrical shit was happening all the time. Clouds twisting into semiotic shapes and dog excrement arranged in profound and mysterious patterns. I was finding double yolks in every cracked egg and receiving mysterious hoax emails about God, heaven, and cryptocurrency. I was receiving AI telemarketing calls asking me, "Have you recently been in a car crash?" My psoriasis was flaring up in sexy and esoteric epidermal crop circles. What were the dead trying to tell me? There was a very real possibility that I was coding things with a cinematic glaze, like ancient viruses sleeping in the Antarctic's thick ice. I was not ready to feel after feeling so much. Have you ever seen a salmon cannon? They're devices that catapult salmon across dams. A commenter on Reddit wonders if salmon think that they're portals to another world. 2017 was the year of realizing things. 2017 was the year I was propelled into another world. I was writing poems about grief. I was trying to milk my pain dry. I believed that writing was a way of closing in, getting intimate with the details. I failed to remember that moving closer to something can mean moving further away from something else. I wrote about grief so much that I sucked the marrow out of its meaning. Semantic satiation tasted like a used bandage, so familiar that it started to disgust me. I fracked my feeling core until the meaty center of my heart closed over. Things became so absurd with sadness, all logic just leaked away. Like this video I watched of a mum absolutely losing it as a baby lisps its very first word, Anthropocene. Or like this time Anne from work gave me a handmade card after my father had died. She had painstakingly cut out and pasted an image of a vaguely Asian girl to the front. I was confused by the racial inaccuracy and touched by the meticulous penmanship, and completely unprepared for the revelation that Anne was actually a devout Mormon, and this was a devout Mormon card, and that she had written her devout Mormon email inside so I too could begin my devout Mormon journey. All I can say is that some people see pain as a franchising opportunity. I'm thinking about that one Joan Didion quote that people always send you: "A single person is missing for you, and the whole world is empty, when someone you love has died, and when you'd rather be left the fuck alone." I think about the way the word missing hisses out into the air from behind clenched teeth, and how the missing will stretch on and on into the rest of my life, like a blaring Hummer limo with lights ablaze. I used to think of grief as something to be purged, but now I feel differently. feel it multiplying in my cells, metabolizing in my small intestine, flaking off my scalp, pooling in the corners of my eyes. A new haggard body part to add to my ongoing collection of haggard body parts. Last night, I watched a film where the sad protagonist asks his staunch driver to take him somewhere that she likes. They end up at a garbage plant watching clumps of trash fall from the sky with a strange grace. Turning to him, she says, "Doesn't it look like snow?" I'm trying to write my grief down before it's too late. How to begin with an ending. Something futile about this, like searching for a piece of glass in a lake. Something chemical about this, thinking about the use of formaldehyde in embalming and how it causes skin tissue to burst. A mortician describes it as being ripped apart on a molecular level inside out. Say rupture and really feel it. Something vicious about this. In the same way that a precious artwork can be destroyed over time by touch. Or the idea of landscape amnesia, as in waking up one day to find a nearby lake completely and languidly drained like an abscess. Something surreal about this. Episode 3, Season 15 of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, or the one where Kim makes Momager Chris pretend to be a corpse so that she can put makeup on it. She applies perfect skin, nude lip as the ideal aesthetic for the grave. A mortician's hot tip for color correction: flush condensed milk through the circulatory system. When I was 5, I got 6 teeth pulled out in one go because I used to eat condensed milk straight out of the can. I spat blood out for days afterwards. Yummy. The long entanglement of sweetness and decay. Calvin Klein's eternity has a chemical in it that's also found in shit and corpses. How do I cryogenically freeze memories of you? At your open casket, I saw a tiny fake ladybird nestled in the flowers they placed on your chest. Your eyes shut behind glasses you wouldn't need. Your feet laced up in rainbow Asics. Your skin glossed over with the hardness of fake food. And no, you didn't look like you were sleeping. Embalming to remember someone as they were might just be denial, which is central to how people live. Life can feel like a wobbling champagne pyramid of Ponzi schemes, ready to come crashing down. When did we all become shareholders in Big Death? Attending a Zoom funeral while working from home. Googling what to wear to a Zoom funeral. Technical difficulties and weeping pixels at said Zoom funeral. Ex-musical theatre student morticians rebranding as remembrance consultants. 1.25 Olympic-sized swimming pools of formaldehyde are buried with the dead in America each year. Death as a prefix to industry makes me hurl. White lady funerals promise a woman's understanding. Cemeteries lined with signs that say limited spaces available, book now so you don't miss out. A perfumery in France will extract dead people's scents from their clothing and bottle it for the price of 560 euros. We live in the age of crowd-funded funerals. A man who lost his wife during the pandemic says you can't die these days because it's too expensive. Funeral payment plans, pay now in 4 parts, no interest. Afterpay for the living and afterpay for the dead. Buying an urn was an unexpected aesthetic and logistical nightmare. An AI startup is recreating dead loved ones as chatbots. Wish you were here. Burial puts concrete into the ground, and cremation puts carbon dioxide into the air, and Big Death is its own economy, and death was never meant to be an economy, but here we are. The mourning sickness of Princess Di's times gestures towards a lack of public structure over which we can unfold our grief. The phenomenon of celebrity death hoaxes. For her 40th birthday, Kanye West gives Kim a holograph of her dead dad. Dressed in a tan suit against a black and blue vortex, Robert Kardashian shoots finger guns while saying he leaves signs from the afterlife in the form of big peefies before dissolving into a swirl of horrible and janky pixels. In another time, this would have been called necromancy, but in this age, it's just cringe. I should stop drawing parallels with a professional wardrobe organizer turned billionaire with a phobia of Starbucks cup sleeves, but I can't ignore that Kim and I are both death-obsessed Libras trying to remember our dead dads. My first recurring dream was about you. It always starts the same. We are sitting on a bulldozer moving through the forest. We can't see them, but we know that the forest is full of bears. Halfway down the forest path, you disappear. I panic because I'm 6 and I can't drive. I don't know how or why, but I know that you're not coming back, and I sit on the bulldozer, waiting for the forest and the bears and the darkness to consume me too. Please come visit me in a dream soon. I'm trying to dream you before it's too late. The glowing question is, how do I reattach to a world without you? It's just accounting and rat kings and employers and rideshare apps and standing desks without you. Like a house being rezoned for a genetically modified pig farm, I rearrange myself around your absence. The word return only exists in my imagination. When Alison Bennis White asks, do you think the saying is true? When someone dies, a library burns down. I think every time someone dies, we should torch a hot desking space as offering. Fire makes me think about the question of your body. Medieval alchemy suggests that transformation is not possible until the original material is completely dissolved. The body yields roughly a milk carton's worth of ashes after cremation. The strange possibilities of death. I'm watching this woman on TikTok throw her dad's ashes into the Bristol Channel only to have the wind blow them right back in her face. In the 4th century BC, King Mausoleus' wife ate his ashes so that he could live inside of her forever. The dead have been tattooed onto skin, exploded as fireworks, baked into coffee mugs, forced into diamonds, fired from a cannon into the whites of the sky's infinite rolling eyes. Somewhere in the world, ashes falling like rain.